Well, I wish I could give you the tea, but mine's just a little bit tart, and that's why it's called Leah's Lemonade. And I'm super excited for my next guest because bomb. Grammy nominated singer, rapper, SAG award winning actress, New York Times bestseller, Janelle Monae. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for making time for me.
Absolutely. I just feel like you're going to be one of those people that we look back in like 40 years and people don't really understand the impact until we look back. Like we see it every day with artists, but you're one of those people, I just feel like people don't honor what we have in front of us. Like you're a gift. You're a gift.
Oh, you are so sweet. Look, you're honoring me right now.
Yep.
That's enough.
I always
That's
give
enough.
I always
I
give
receive that. I don't take that lightly. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, you're in a new era. You're in a new era, a new space. Float, single out right now. I mean, let's talk about it because you talked about being in a space of self-discovery during the pandemic, and that's kind of where this was born, this like epiphany. You talked about having several epiphanies at Tiffany's, but you know, you talked about that. So what is the difference between you now than prior to the pandemic? Like what are you walking in that's so different and freeing?
I mean, I just hope people can feel it. Like, what do you feel? What you picking up? I mean, I told myself I didn't want to explain everything. I think that's the big difference of having the need to explain my evolution.
Yeah.
Like it should be felt, you know, and that's my hope.
No, well, and I also think too with you, you've always kept a certain level of privacy to yourself, and you've always kept people wondering about you in general. And I think, you know, this song embodies literally like you said, I'm free as fuck, right? Like I'm literally the ideal that I don't owe anybody anything in this evolution is more so for me than anyone else. Do you think the pandemic like really created that feel for you? Like, I guess for me, I'm just wondering, like, what was the breaking point? I think, you know, we had to sit with ourselves and it was real quiet. And a lot of people realized they didn't like who they were sitting with. And so like, what was that moment for you that it was like, hey, listen, when we get out this thing, I'm me and I don't give a what was that point for you?
I mean, I guess for me, I think I had, you know, when things started to get canceled and we did have like meaning like tours for me, the biggest show I did was 2020, honestly, and then my tour got canceled. I was supposed to be promoting or still on promo for my last project, and when all that stuff started to happen, I was forced, you know, to sort of just deal with the present, and I had a unique opportunity to go inward, absolutely, to heal myself. And you know, the time that I had, I definitely like sat with me and just realized sort of when it was time to reintegrate again, how do I want to do that? Who do I want to do that with? You know, not a lot of people get those opportunities, but I did, and I was like, I took full advantage of it. And I was like, I want to create and curate a space, mentally, spiritually, environmentally, that feels conducive to the type of uh, life I want to live. You know, when you shed skin, when you evolve, when you become something new, it's almost as though all of that seeps into the way you create art. Like I feel like a new artist. I feel like I have a new lease on life. I feel like just again, like in my lyrics of the song, I mean, I think that's the best way to put it. Like even in flow, like I used to let niggas get to me. I used to be my own enemy, you know, like I had to really check some of those things and fix some of those things that were triggering for me. And nobody can do that work but you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people too, like one of the hardest parts of therapy is like therapy is really good, but you're left to do the work. Like you find out what's wrong with you, right? It's like, okay, I got mommy issues, I got intimate issues, I have whatever. But then you have to sit with yourself, and that's the hard part because you can sit in the perpetual cycle of whatever it is, or you can make a decision to like move forward. And I think like that's one of the hardest parts of like therapy, like self-renewal, if you will. one of the lines you said in the song that I thought was interesting, it stuck out to me immediately, was like, I had to forgive all my frenemies. And I think no one talks enough about how hard platonic breakups are when, especially I think as women, the older we get, the harder it can be sometimes to navigate like friendships. So talk about, I guess, you know, that part for you, walking away from certain dynamics or friendships that you know, the pandemic kind of stirred up.
Well, I mean, in the lyrics specifically, I say I had to forgive all my frenemies. They are not who they pretend to be. They are not who they pretend to be. Those two lines together are important because a lot of times, you know, when you have platonic relationships, you sort of have this contract with each other, like, this is how we operate, this is what we do. And when somebody does not operate in that spirit of whatever that agreement, whether you verbally express the agreement or not, it's just kind of like a subconscious thing, right? That we just, this is what we do, this is what we do.
Right.
And you start acting out in different ways. Sometimes it looks like jealousy. Sometimes it looks like
Talk about
resentment. Sometimes it looks like a lot of things. But when you really get down to it and you talk to the person, you talk to your friends, you realize that these people are hurting. They have things that they need to fix, and it has nothing to do with you. Sometimes you're just a reminder of all the things that maybe they wish they could be doing, and not in a negative way. Like, I'm not saying that like I'm doing this and you're not. I'm just saying that we have to further investigate before we start judging and writing people off. And for me, that forgiveness, because I forgave and because I was able to not necessarily just forgive for the sake of forgiving, but I got a better understanding of a friend, of a person in my life. Yeah, and you know that it also doesn't come without, you give grace, but it's grace, you know, with through accountability. And then you kind of just pick if you want to trust again in that relationship. But it's a step by step. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So you are a very private person, but what do you wish more people knew about you? Like, what do you wish, like, is there a misconception? Is there something, obviously you're floating, so you don't really give a damn what people say, but is there something that you could like shake the world and be like, listen, this about me, or do you not care at this point?
You know, that's a really interesting question. I mean, I think I used to have, maybe a long time ago, I really cared, like, people should know this about me, and I'm this, I'm also that, or, you know, you want to prove that you can do this and you're not just this, or you're not just this type of person. I mean, I definitely have a big sense of humor, and if you're closest to me, you get that. Like, I think for a while people thought I was super serious, and I could understand like some of the roles that I took on, even in film and TV, were kind of heavy, and not all of them, but for the most part, people are getting they're getting like one side of who you are. Like when I took off the suit, I still was the same free ass motherfucker when I took off. Like, you know what I'm saying? You feel like, but I don't have that need anymore. I don't
Do
have a
you feel
need
like
to try to do all that.
when you left the labels, you left that expectation? Like when you stopped?
Yeah. I mean, I'm non-binary, so for sure.
Right.
When I stopped operating in the binary, it definitely freed my mind up a lot more. And I think it just drew me to this mantra that I say to myself all the time, is like, you know, my inner voice has to be the loudest voice that I hear. It's the alpha, it's the omega, it is the voice that I trust, and it's the one that I honor, and that, you know, has the final say on who I am. Like, there's nobody else that can tell me who I am more than I could tell myself. So I think once I sort of understood that, and I freed up my mind to reimagine who I can be, how I can think, understanding I'm the author of that. I stopped, you know, people are all, everybody going, you will never go through life not having people question or talk or whatever about you, or think that they know you. You're never gonna do that. But you do have a choice in whether you're gonna really believe them or believe you. And I believe me.
Period. I know that's right.
Yeah.
speaking of you being non-binary, you were the first non-binary person to grace the cover of Ebony Magazine. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
There was something you said in the article, though, that I thought was interesting. When you talked about freedom, you talked about surprising yourself, and you always wanted to make sure that you're surprising yourself. So has there been an area in your life with this freedom that you have surprised yourself yet?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. I mean, I think, when before I've evolved to the person that I am, like I used to be a big perfectionist. And so I would, like, if I hit a bad note because I couldn't hear, or, if I misspoke or whatever, I would be so heavy on myself. But
Yeah,
like these days, if I'm giving grace to friends or family, I got to give that grace to myself. And so I think in situations, just personal situations, I'm super proud of how I've handled me and the
mm,
forgiveness of myself and being patient with myself
yeah,
and as I'm being patient with others. So things
absolutely,
like that.
absolutely.
Always surprising myself. Always
I love it.
surprising myself.
You're so bomb. I literally love you so much. I'm so sad I have to wrap. But make sure you go out, get that single float. New music on the way from the one and only Janelle Monae. I'm super honored to talk
Thank
to
you.
you. And as I always say at the Living A stand, grab a cup, throw it back, and sip on all of that.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Janelle Monae, and I just wanted to say a big congratulations to you, Leah, for Leah's Lemonade being up running. Your show is so cool.